but not over ourselves. And in almost all cases in history, the people who know how to manage things get their orders from the people who know how to manage people. And the way you manage people is usually with stories. Maybe I give a concrete example so we understand what we talk about. If you take one of the biggest and most dangerous scientific enterprises of the 20th century, the Manhattan Project, the creation of the first atomic bomb. What do you need in order to create an atomic bomb? You need a critical mass of uranium or plutonium. You need enough uranium atoms bunched together, but you also need a critical mass of humans bunched together. If you're just one person, you're Einstein or you're a thesis of democracies, that democracy should be a conversation between human beings, but it's now being taken over by algorithms. And this is very, very primitive AIs. The next step, which we are already seeing the beginning of this, is for the AIs not just to edit the stories written by human beings, but to create the stories by themselves. And we have no idea what the result will be. We have thousands of years of experience with human storytelling. What happens to society when you unleash millions upon millions of super intelligent AIs capable of creating new stories? And new stories is not just, scripts for TV shows or fiction books. New stories is new religions created by AIs. It's new financial devices. The most successful Earth and finding iron and build a robot can't do that. But within the existing bureaucracies, structures that humans have already created and imposed on the world, AI already has tremendous agency and power, much more than many humans, because AI is a native bureaucrat. No lawyer can remember all the laws of a country. AI can easily do that. No banker can follow all the things that are happening in the markets every moment. AI can do that. So in finance, in law, in the military, AI is getting a lot of agency. If we take a paradigmatic case from almost 10 years ago, the Rohingya massacre in Myanmar, which was to a large extent the result of propaganda spreading on social media, on Facebook. And propaganda which was deliberately spread by the Facebook algorithm with the aim of getting more engagement, causing people in Myanmar to spend more time on the platform, because this was the business model of the company. The crucial thing to understand is that no human being in Facebook headquarters had any ill will towards the Rohingya or any understanding of what was happening. They didn't even speak the language. It's not that some human being in California said, oh, I hate the Rohingya people, let's start spreading propaganda against them so that they will kill them and expel them. No, the human being told the algorithm something very simple and seemingly innocent. Increase user engagement in Myanmar. Make people more engaged, spend more time on our platform.
Of Todai later.
I think one key principle is to understand that for the first time in history, we don't know how the world would look like in even 10 years. So our responsibility as educators, it's heavier, more difficult than any time before. Of course, you can never predict political events. You could never predict an epidemic or an earthquake. But a lot of other things you could predict. For most of history, the basic economic structure didn't change very quickly. the skills that people needed didn't change very quickly. So if we go back, say, 500 years or 1,000 years to Japan in the feudal era, people know what skills to teach the young generation. They need to know how to read and write, to be so flexible that it can keep learning and changing, not just at age 20, but also 30 and 40 and 60 and 70, to stay in line with the huge changes in the world. The other thing is that so much of education is based on language and on the intellect, especially intellect in the form of language skills. And language, I also include mathematical language, it's not just words. And this was always, you know, kind of the human superpower, our command of language. And all our big institutions were based on language, whether it's banks or whether it's temples and religions, they are based on language. And now we have something on the planet that mastered language better than us. And we still haven't come to text. And it talks to you. The same problem is in Christianity, in Islam, in Hinduism, in many religions. So this all relates to the question of education. In a world where we are no longer the masters of language, what is the most important thing in education? Just keep teaching language, it's a losing strategy. So we need to connect and to explore to the other aspects of the human being, which are not words, which are not language. If people ask, so what is still unique to humans that AI doesn't have, and we refer to it in the beginning, it's consciousness, it's feelings, it's the body. So, and I think as in the age of AI, an education that leaves out the body and that leaves out feelings and consciousness is a very problem. This could have been good enough, at least economically, say in the 20th century or the 19th century. But in the 21st century, we have to connect in education, in university, much more to the level of feeling and body, because this is still what we have and what the AIs don't.
That's very interesting. Arisa, you want to respond directly? I also want to hear what Kawi thinks.
I just wanted to, go first before the vice president, actually goes for the, what's the Todai, the University of Tokyo is actually working on. I don't know. So I just, I agree with, what you said about, it's, we can, what on the education, what we wanted to.
We are making slow but steady steps. We've been emphasizing the interdisciplinarities of the, for example, we try to collaborate, make students as well as researchers collaborate with each other, like AI scientists, ethicists, and education researchers together, and think about how to best use the technologies. Because exactly what we have been discussed, the AI is not only the AI itself, but it has to do with all the disciplines. So the interdisciplinarity is a must in our curriculum. And also, we have also started a PhD program launched last year. This is called Boost NICE PhD program, and this is a training program for the next generation.
The pupils or students meet one another, and we saw it, for instance, during COVID, that it was somehow possible to recreate the experience of the classroom via Zoom. The greatest loss was the breaks, that the students could not go out of the classroom and sit together and have lunch together and discuss what happened in the class or discuss what happens in the world. And this is something that AI, I was almost about to say, cannot replicate, But actually, this is a big danger. AI can also replicate that, and this is very dangerous because AI can replicate intimacy. Actually, AI, the same way that it masters language and the same way that it previously mastered attention, the next frontier is intimacy. And intimacy is much more powerful than AI can do that. Now, what happens if a new generation grows up and develops intimate relations with AIs instead of with other human beings? This, again, we don't know. It could have some maybe benefits, but the potential danger is enormous. That people will become attached to fake people, and we lose, and in the process we lose the ability to create intimacy with real human beings, because real human beings are much more problematic than AIs. Like if you, an AI that wants to become your intimate friend, its greatest advantage is that it has no feelings of its own. So it's never upset, it's never angry, it's never tired. It can focus on you 100% and understand exactly how you feel, and in that way create a fake sense of intimacy. You try to establish a relationship with a human being, the feelings come in between. But the thing is that real intimacy is not just wanting somebody else to care about me. Real intimacy is I also care about the feelings of somebody else, and AI has no feelings. So a society in which humans develop more and more intimate relationships with AIs is ultimately a society without intimacy.
But maybe this can be controlled, or?
Actually, I wanted to, ask this, when, and, not in this line, but when I read your new book, so I also think, I am a social scientist, so I kind of share your concern about the intimacy or maybe the dependency towards this AI robot. But I also have the colleagues who works in the robot.
Here, that's wonderful. And also, I'm in favor of, having friendly robots, or humans being on friendly terms and not being terrified and afraid. The problem is, when it comes to building intimacy and friendships, that we have a proper understanding of what it means. And as I just said, it's easy for people to imagine that friendship is when somebody cares about me, about my feelings, about my needs, that somebody sees me. People go through life constantly wanting others to see me, to care about me. I want my parents, my teachers, my friends to care about me. But this is not real intimacy. Real relationship must be two ways. Otherwise I become an extremely self-centered and egoistic person that just wants the entire world to be in tune with what I feel without caring about others. Now, to develop real relationship, you need the entity on the other side to have feelings and not just fake it. So you can have relationships with humans, with animals, with dogs, with cats. With regard to AI, the big question, which is an open question, we don't know the answer, is whether AI will be able to develop feelings of its own. We know for a fact that it can imitate feelings. It can make us think that it has feelings. This absolutely. But does it actually feel anything? That's the big question. And this is the question about intelligence versus consciousness. That intelligence is the ability to solve problems and attain. And there are all kinds of dangers with that, but the biggest danger of all is, as a historian, I would say, is the lack of history. Like, we simply have no experience with that. It's a bit like, aliens coming from outer space, And people say, you know, these aliens, they are highly intelligent, they can solve cancer, they can solve climate change. Would we entrust the future of humanity to these aliens? Obviously not. We would realize, oh, this is a very huge gamble. We don't know anything about them. AI is in a way like these aliens. Of course, people would say, but we design the AIs. We don't design the aliens coming from outer space. We design the AIs. We'll design them in a way that will be safe. But this is a misunderstanding of what AI means. If you design something and you can predict everything it will do, by definition, it's not AI. The very definition of AI is this is something that can learn and change by itself.